Okay. So the roadmap for what we're going to do, we have an hour. It's going to go by quickly. So I want to begin with an opening prayer, and then we're going to do something experiential, and then I'm going to give you some content about merges and electromagnetic field and how to clear those types of merges. And then we'll have some time at the end. We'll have about 10 minutes, I think, for Q&A, and then we'll close. So we got a lot to cover. All right. So if you would gently close your eyes, and let's begin with a few nice deep breaths. In slowly through your nose and out slowly through your mouth with a soft belly, helping you to center yourself and also feel your roots going down below your feet. Feel your presence fully embodied and open up your curiosity for our time together today. Dearly beloved, we gather in the name of the One. We call upon the divine in all its names, those that can be named and those that cannot be named. We call upon our guides, teachers, angels, archangels, wisdom teachers, allies and resources, seen and unseen, known and unknown, named and unnamed, all who hold the sacred ground of our being to nourish, support, inspire, guide, uplift, and heal. We give thanks and we call upon our ancestors and wisdom teachers who journey with us, who love us and support us. We ask to be released from any lineage that we've agreed to free us to express our own unique soul's expression. We give thanks and we call for the quickening of the divine qualities of love, light, truth, beauty, power, and grace. We call for the evolution of consciousness. We ask for the support so that we can be all we are meant to be. We call for the quickening in every cell in our being that says yes to life, yes to being of service, yes to enjoying this life fully fulfilled. We say yes to joy and to full inspired expression. We ask for a clear transmission of wisdom and healing energy and to receive the template of today's teaching and transmission. We open this space for expanded consciousness and synergy and the flow of information with ease and grace. We give thanks, and so it is. All right. Okay, so as a beginning, I'd like to do a little experiment with each of you so that you can experience me merging with you. And we're going to clear it almost immediately, so no need to get concerned about it. I just want you to have the experience of what it feels like. So if you don't want me to merge with you, just please raise your electronic hand so I know not to merge with you. All right. Good for you, my guinea pigs. All right. So just take a breath and see if you can feel me merging with you. So where the merge is occurring is in your solar plexus chakra. So just notice how that feels. And just as you feel that, notice if you're experiencing any of these things, something that's unfamiliar in your field, something unwelcome, even though you might like me, something that's not of you. And then notice if it has a weight, a size, a smell, a color, a taste, any somatic experiences. So this is a specific type of merge called an electromagnetic merge. So what I've done is I have extended my personal electromagnetic field into yours. So we all merge at different times, and we all experience people merging with us. And there's lots of reasons for merging. So as a teacher, we can do it to connect with our students, as a way to transmit energy or emotion. We also can merge to dominate or manage or manipulate somebody. We can merge to express kindness, caring, empathy, wisdom. We can merge to express love. And we can merge to transmit an agenda. So notice the effect on your breathing and on your emotions as you experience this. And understand that many of us merge, some of us more than others, depending on how clear our boundaries are. So merging usually happens as a result of our lack of clarity about our own boundaries, and also because it can be a habit. So part of the transmission for today is so that you can experience how it feels and then learn how to clear an electromagnetic merge. So I'm going to make time at the end for questions. So if you have any questions as we go along, just jot them down and we'll have some time at the end for questions. Okay, so now we're going to clear this, and I'm going to walk you through the steps, and then Rich is going to put it up on the screen so you can see the steps as you clear this merge. And then I'm also going to send you these steps afterwards, so you don't need to worry about taking notes right now. So there's a couple steps to clearing a merge. The first is to recognize that it's happened. So if you find yourself, like if you're feeling a little weird or strange, just check in with your higher self and see if someone has merged with you or you've merged with someone. Hold on, Rich, don't share it quite yet. Thank you. And then the second thing you want to do is identify who the merge is with. And then you want to acknowledge your sovereignty over your own energy structure, and you stand in that sovereignty. And your structure in this system that I work with extends out about 15 to 20 feet in all directions, all around you. So from that place of recognizing your sovereignty, you stand in your sovereignty, knowing that whoever has merged with you doesn't belong in you. And then you're going to speak out loud and tell that person to leave and go back home or wherever they belong now. And when you're talking to somebody, it has really nothing to do with your personal relationship with that person. The important thing is that you stand as sovereign and you speak clearly and directly, in this case to me, and then tell me to go. Because if I or whoever has merged with you doesn't think you really mean it, we're going to stick around. So it's important that you be clear and direct with it. And as you're clearing the merge, you can also use your hands to push out or lift out the merge to dismiss it. And then the last step is to reclaim yourself as yourself and reclaim your sovereignty once again. Okay, Rich, so now you can put those steps up. Thanks. So this is a slide of what I just said. And so I want you to know that this is how to clear a merge when someone has merged with you. I can also clear this merge with you, and I will do that if some of you are not successful with clearing this merge. Okay, so now just use those steps and just clear this merge that I have initiated with you. And I'm going to feel it as you all clear yourselves. So speak out loud. You're all merged. You can speak as loud as you want. Okay, so make sure you push me all the way out of your field, because your field might be bigger than you think it is. There we go. Good job. Okay, so notice how it feels now to be clear of that merge. Okay, Rich, you can close the screen share. Good job, everybody. All right. So I'm gonna just quickly merge with you again and show you what it feels like when I remove my merge with you. Okay, so I'm back. And so what I'm doing is I'm simply extending my hands out and I'm pulling my electromagnetic field back to myself. There we go. Because there's two ways that these electromagnetic merges can happen. One is if somebody merges with you, and the other is if you merge with somebody else. Okay. So this particular type of merging that we're experimenting with right now is an electromagnetic merge. And the electromagnetic field is sometimes it's called the aura. It's what's photographed in Kirlian photography. And it extends out about arm's length in all directions, all around you. And it's like an overlay system over the other systems in your energy field. And it's formed as a result of the electrical activity in our heart and our brain. So it's an important part of our structure because it's the intersection of the spiritual and the material, and often it has a lot of emotional content in it. So you may have noticed when I was merged with you that it felt very kind of soft and loving. Maybe you didn't feel that. That's what my intention was, but I don't know if you felt that or not. So here's the thing to know about electromagnetic merges is we all do it. And sometimes we do it unconsciously, and sometimes we do it purposefully. In any case, it's a sign of weak boundaries. And most of us have weak boundaries, especially those of us that are compassionate and kind and what I call hypersensitive and hyper vulnerable, which means we feel a lot of stuff. So merges are not really about loving and caring. They're often about wanting somebody to get something if we're the one that's initiating the merge, or you probably have felt that if somebody has merged with you. And, it's really interesting because a lot of times in families and in romantic relationships, there's a lot of merging that goes on because we think that's what love is. But it's not really. It's really just kind of porous boundaries, shall we say. And then there's the question of empaths. So how many of you think you're an empath? Okay. So I want to suggest to you that people who feel really empathic because they get so much information have really porous boundaries. And I think it's a better thing to say that you are hypersensitive and hyper vulnerable because you feel so much more. And as we go a little further along in some classes, we'll talk some more about that. But some people who are empathic feel like they get really hammered by information. And same with hypersensitivity and hypervulnerability. But I think it's more of a question of learning how to navigate in a world that's not hospitable to those of us that have those kinds of gifts. Because I think hypersensitivity and hypervulnerability are superpowers. And, our world just isn't friendly to that. So we don't want to lose those gifts. We just want to learn how to navigate with them and get the gifts from all of them. All right. So this is just one little type of merge that we just experienced. I'm going to tell you about different types of merges. So, Rich, if you could put that other slide up, that'd be great. Okay, so electromagnetic merge, that's what you just experienced when I merged with you. So electromagnetic merges can happen either if you merge with a person, if someone merges with you. There can also be an electromagnetic merge with a place and with an object. So those last two with a place or an object are really you extending your electromagnetic field, because places and objects don't have electromagnetic fields because they don't have hearts and brains. They don't have that kind of electrical activity that we do. But those are electromagnetic. Then there's something that's called an overarching connection. And this is something that often happens between a parent and a child, or between lovers that have more codependent types of relationships. So what happens is it starts as just a simple electromagnetic merge, just to check and see how somebody's doing. And then it becomes a controlling thing. Like the person who is initiating it can either be trying to save you because they think you're really in physical danger, or because they want you to be their puppet. So those are our overarching connections. Then there's an overlay, which usually, this is a different type of connection. It's also electromagnetic, but it's where the person just overlays their field over your whole field. And it can feel like a straitjacket because you can't really expand and contract outside of the confines of what they have overlaid you with. Then there are merges with entities, possessions, astral beings. There's all kinds of entities out there, as you know. And sometimes people are really fascinated with them and they merge with them. Like I had one client when I first started working with him, he used to go sit in a cemetery and invite the ghosts to come and be with him. And so we just had to constantly clean up that stuff until he realized that that wasn't really the right relationship to have with those kinds of energies. And something else that we've seen with the pandemic is there's been a lot more astral activity because there's been so much fear and chaos and upset on the planet. And that just has unleashed a lot of astral activity. But we merge with those energies. We also can merge with angels and fairies, elemental beings and deities and devas. There's another type of merge, which is called a hidden agenda, which is a little more pernicious than the simple type of electromagnetic merge that I just initiated with you. And that might be something like if you really think that you know what's best for someone, and like, for example, I mean, if only you were as spiritual as I am, let me help you with that, you know, that kind of thing, but it's covert. And so those are in a deeper place in our field that we can work with there. And then there's all kinds of karmic merges, whether it's a contract or an agreement or a simple wound or a complex wound. There's all sorts of things that happen in karma. And then there's also, we can merge with ourselves. And it's because merging with ourselves often happens because we're not as in tune with ourselves as we think we are. We don't necessarily know our internal landscaping as well as we should. And then I talked a minute ago about empaths and boundaries. Empaths merge a lot with people because they're like, oh, I can take this for you. I can help you. Let me carry that burden for you. And we end up really getting ourselves mucked up. So it's a little about empaths. There's another type of merging that I did not put on here, which happens in another one of our energetic systems, which is called the bones of light. And the bones of light is like our energetic musculoskeletal system. There's a part of the bones of light that is called the substructure, which is like the frame of a house. It just holds the whole thing up. When we are in an intimate sexual relationship with somebody, our substructures actually merge together. And what happens is the consistency and the texture of the discs, the substructures made of discs, they get almost gelatinous. And that's like, have you ever had that feeling after sex that you just feel like boneless and you just, you know, your mind is blown, your body's blown? That's because our substructures have merged together. That's a kind of merging that we want, but what's important is to know how to unmerge afterwards. So there's lots and lots of different ways that we merge. Just wanted to give you an overview of some of those. Okay, Rich, thanks. You can take that one down. So as we go on, this is going to be a series on merges because we're going to actually dive into all of those different things. And then I want to also show, Rich, let's put up that other slide about clearing merges. There we go. Okay. So, so this is just a little bit more about clearing merges than what I gave you the first time around. So that first part there of when someone has merged with you is what you just did to unmerge with me. And then the second one is if you have merged with someone, ways to clear that one by pulling your electromagnetic field back to yourself. And then the next one, if you have merged with a place, then to understand what place it is and whether it's your extension into the place or that you have pulled the place into you, or both. And then you want to imagine that you could extend your light fingers out the end of your physical fingers and coat them with an energy called universal love and light. And you just put your fingers up and just call on that energy to come into your hands. And when it comes in, you'll feel it. And then just recognize that this merge is about your boundaries not being so clear. And then you want to separate by actually pushing away with your light fingers with the universal love and light with gratitude and clarity. And then you want to pull all of your electromagnetic energy back into yourself using your hands. And then with an object, it's a little bit similar. So first, you want to ask your higher self if you have compatible resonance with the object. And what I mean by compatible resonance is there's a principle in physics that says that like attracts like. So that's what compatible resonance is. So if you have that with an object, like oftentimes if we have a sacred object, we have it for the properties and the principles of that object because it can amplify those properties in ourselves. And so if you have no compatible resonance, you want to recognize that your boundaries are unclear. And you just if you do have compatible resonance, you want to ask your higher self to release the compatible resonance. Because as long as you have compatible resonance, you won't be able to clear it completely. And then again, you want to separate from the object with gratitude and clarity and pull all of your electromagnetic energy back to yourself. So thanks, Rich. You can take that one down. So with sacred objects, it's really important when you get them to know how to clear them and to consecrate them for your best use. So for example, I was recently gifted this beautiful obsidian sphere. And when it came, the energy in it just felt really funky. So what I did was I bathed it in a bath of salt water, and then I left it outside overnight under a new moon to clear it. And then I consecrated it to my brow chakra, just consecrating it for my highest use. So this sits on my desk, and it's to keep me clear and to amplify whatever is coming through. And I use it in all my sessions with all my clients too. So it's clean and clear that way. And if it feels like it starts to get a little congested, then I'll simply do that clearing ritual again. Not necessarily to reconsecrate it, although I'll check and see if I need to do that. So, okay, that's a lot of information I just gave you. I want to open it up and see if you have any questions and can have an answer. So I'll answer you as best I can. So if you have a question, just raise your hand. Yes, Rivers.
Well, I couldn't feel anything, and it went so fast. I was still on like the first 3 steps, and you were ending the practice. So I don't know if it's because of my state of mind or weak boundaries, or I already emerged with you because you're one of my healers. I don't know, but it went too fast and I couldn't feel anything. So now I'm concerned that I can't recognize a merge. What's a merge?
Okay, you know what? I also might have, did anybody else feel like I went too fast? Yeah, I was a little nervous. So I wanted to make sure that I gave you all the right info. So let me just take a moment, Rivers, and let me merge with you again. So notice what you feel right in your solar plexus chakra. And it might feel subtle because I'm pretty clean about my boundaries. So it might just feel like a little softness and loving in your solar plexus that you don't normally recognize. You feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So then you can mute yourself now because I'm going to ask you to talk out loud to me to clear the merge. So just recognize that I have merged with you and that I don't belong here in you, and that you are sovereign over your own energy field. And then just tell me to leave. And if you need to use your hands or want to use your hands to push me out, you can do that. Got it? Good. It's not really difficult for these. It's really more about the clarity of your intention than anything else. And that's how that goes. You have another question? Okay.
So, why do you think that was? Because I have weak boundaries. I mean, usually I can feel you, but I couldn't today. I'm just wondering.
But you felt me the second time, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very subtle. If you hadn't pointed it out, I probably wouldn't have noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm sure with practice and all of that, but
Yeah. And we know from our work together that your boundaries are porous, and that part of the issues that we've been dealing with is to heal the consequences in your life of having had porous boundaries. Yeah. All right. Tanya's saying this was the most supportive and gentle feeling. Shannon agrees. Alex says very subtlety too. Okay. Do you want me to blast you so you can feel it? All right. Okay.
Oh,
Not gonna.
some people do and some people don't, it seems. But you
Okay.
can.
I actually found it very activating for my body. It took me like a few minutes for my body to calm down afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. So who would like to have a stronger merge? Who wants to experience that? Shannon and Tanya and Jennifer
Oh, and Alex.
and Alex. Okay, so the rest of you, I'm not going to merge with you. All right, let me just make a note so I make sure I do these right ones. Okay, so Shannon.
can we watch? Can we watch
Yeah.
others getting blasted?
Yeah.
Sorry, kids.
Okay. And Tanya. Okay. All right. I'll be a little rougher with my boundaries. So you might just feel it more strongly. Okay, you ready? I'm noticing that in myself, I have to really amp myself up for this because I've trained myself to not merge. Yeah. Okay. You feel that? Okay. Yeah. So Shannon says more somatic, difficult to take a deep breath, feeling versus feeling the merge itself. But that's a symptom of the merge, Shannon, is that. Yeah. Okay. So now clear the merge. Good job. Yeah. Yeah. Jane says she also felt very constricted in her core, almost hard to breathe, and why you'd rather not have the blast. Yeah. And so, I mean, well, I specifically gave that blast to those who wanted it. Probably all of you felt it somewhat because you're all hypersensitive and hyper vulnerable. So I'm just going to make sure I pull it all the way back. So one of the things that I think it's very important to know about this as a healer, and most of you are also healers, is it's really not good to merge with your clients. It doesn't really help them. And so one of the things that I do at the end of every session is I very consciously pull all my energy back to myself, because sometimes I unconsciously leak out some of that energy, even though I feel like I'm pretty elegant and impeccable with my boundaries. Sometimes that happens. Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, Norma.
That thing you said, that we want that post-sex boneless feeling. I have never understood that before. I've never heard that before. And I'm a recovering merger. And I've actually never wanted that. So I'm curious as where that came from.
Where that merging came from?
No, that felt sense that you put it right into the room, honey. I picked up on it right away.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I've never had that that desire to feel that non-coherence in my field
Mm-hmm,
when I'm in relationship with somebody else like that.
mm-hmm.
So I was just curious because you said, and we all really like it, or we like it, or we want it. And I
Well,
was like, wait, do
yeah.
we? Like, is that true? Because I want to know where that came from.
Where it came from that I said we all like it?
Yeah, like I've never heard of that before. So I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You're right. Technically, not everybody likes it, and so not everybody has to do it. Carmelinda, what?
I mean, as a recovering merger,
Mm-hmm.
still in recovery, I think in times when I've had sex with someone and it's felt deeply connected,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that connection to stop.
Right.
So that then becomes a merge, right? Because
Yeah. Yes. And so one of the things, if you do have that kind of merge in your substructures during sex play, typically within 12 or so hours, it resolves itself, and the texture of your substructure returns to where it should be. So the thing is to recognize, like what Carmelinda was just saying, if you don't want that to happen, or you don't want it to stop, just to notice it. I mean, it's all really about awareness of your energetic self. And I mean, one of the other things that happens often with couples is they merge through their chakras. And
Yes, that's true.
and so when I work with couples, I almost always clear those merges between them, and people are upset when I do that, because they think, but that's a sign of my love for my partner. And so then the homework I give them is, okay, so I've unmerged your chakras. Now your homework tonight is to make love and see what happens without starting out from a merged place. And they almost always say, well, it was much better, really much, much better, because I didn't come in, with that already there. So
Okay.
I think the bottom line of all of this is really about, like I said, just getting clear about yourself. And it's like, so when I teach, there's a couple things that I do. The first is I always make sure I'm out at my outermost edge, so that I don't have to meet people from anywhere inside my field. And so there's less likelihood that there is going to be a merge that happens in there. And then, like I said, at the end of whatever kind of teaching it is to just really bring myself fully back into myself, because sometimes our energy just flows without us even being so aware of it.
Mhm. Thanks.
Right? Yeah. Other questions? Comments? Do you, Carmelinda?
I think it's the question of entities and astral beings merging. At least for me,
Mm-hmm.
that it's very different feeling. It's harder to discern.
Yeah.
especially when the energy is like not really recognizable. So
Mhm.
it's like I may notice that there's something off, there's something wrong, but I just don't have any reference for understanding what it is.
Right.
And so for me, that's the most complicated part of this is I often can feel there's something wrong in my system, but being able to recognize like which one of the 50 possibilities it is.
Right. 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 And so, I mean, gosh, all of you are clients. So, so you've all experienced some kind of a clearing in that arena, maybe with one or two exceptions. And um, so you know that I start out every session taking different measurements because there's a specific weight for astrals. There's a specific weight for entities. There's a specific weight for ghosts, for example. And so it requires some training and some being able to discern that. And like you said, Carmelinda, sometimes they're really sneaky and covert, and they hide. And if it's something that has been in you for a long time, it's really hard for you to discern that yourself. So that's why it's really good to have somebody that you trust that knows how to do that, to take a look and see. And you know, sometimes it's not an entity or a possession or an astral. Sometimes it's something that's happening in your energy anatomy that is out of alignment. Sometimes it's a karmic thing or a combination of a karmic entity. I mean, there's countless variations on these themes that can happen. And here's what I know is that the more you develop what I call structural integrity, which is that your energy structure is operating in its full and fully expressed fashion, and the more aware you are of your own internal landscape, then the more likely it is that you'll be able to pinpoint what's happening. Like Carmelinda, you've said to me sometimes, hey, I think this is going on. And sometimes it is that, and sometimes it's something else. But I mean, the whole point of all of this is to know what it feels like in yourself to be clean and clear and in integrity with yourself energetically, so that you have vibrational, what I call vibrational wellness. Jane.
So, you know, full disclosure to everybody, so Barbara's cleared astrals out of my field. And it's kind of a bit freaky to think, oh, there's these astrals floating around who are just sort of able to sort of pop in at any point. And my question is, so does everybody have that? Or is there something about the work that we just happen to be doing that makes us more susceptible? Or is it that everybody has it and most people are walking around completely unaware?
That everybody's susceptible to picking up those energies, you mean? Yeah. So part of it's boundaries. And with astrals, for example, there's a lot of different types of astrals, and we can get astrals from another person, from a building, or from the earth. And that's why I said a few minutes ago that with the pandemic, we saw a lot more astral activity, because just with what was going on in the collective field, there was a lot of fear, and people were much more susceptible then. And one of the things that we saw that was really strange and unique and fascinating from a practitioner perspective was something that we called astral deity sepsis, which was a deity is a type of astral, and it merged with the coronavirus, and it formed a specific type, almost like a septic infection that many people were infected with. The good news is that it was easy to recognize and clear, but if you don't know that, and I think that may be why some people have long COVID. I don't actually know. There's not a way of knowing that, but it is related to boundaries, and it's a complicated subject. Let's put it that way. I think the thing that's important to know is that astral energy needs a human host. And so it's always looking for a sign of weakness to enter into. And that could be emotional depression. It could be a physical wound. It could be a sore throat, anything like that, that affects our full functioning. That's a great opening for an astral to come in. And for some of you that I've worked with, once we've cleared an astral, sometimes we initiate using an astral shield to repel astral energy, and they work really, really well. But the same is true for ghosts and entities and other spirits. You know, they're all around, and I think some of us are more. I don't know if it's a level of personal interest in them, or if it's just if it just makes our boundaries less strong. I think it's a very individual thing. It's just hard to say what's what, because it's unique to each individual in each situation. Yeah, Mike.
I'm a little bit confused about when you say astral energy, what that means. Like, what are the qualities that the energy has that makes it astral as opposed to something else? It's maybe a definition, or I'm just not sure, like, what astral energy, when you say that, what it means. I mean, I've experienced it,
Right.
but I'm still not clear on exactly what it means.
Right. I mean, I can say a little bit. I was going to do a whole class on astrals. I just want to say, because there's a lot here.
I'm content to wait until then too, if
Yeah,
that's the case.
but I'll just tell you right now that astral energy it's parasitic and it's opportunistic. And what it does is when it finds a point of weakness in us, it comes in and it amplifies our shadow self, basically, is what happens. And so it's distinct from other types of possessions because of that. I mean, that's just kind of a quick and dirty, but there's things like there are astral infections, there are astral fragments, there are astral deities, there are astral rivers, there are astral lakes, there are astral furies. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of astrals. So I was going to talk about that for another class. If you can wait, that'd be great. Okay. Tanya.
Yeah, hi there. I'm aware that there's not a lot of time, and I don't need time for this, but it's here, so I'll just mention it at least. On merging with place, I had a really fascinating experience when I was in Mexico City in January, when I went to Frida Kahlo's house, where I went and I just had like such an intense and emotional experience where I ended up like walking around kind of weeping the whole time, which I thought was very cool as it was happening, and also kind of ridiculous. Nobody else was doing this. And then left, and then felt completely back to myself, like almost instantly. And it took about 24 hours for me to, I mean, it seems very obvious now, but to be like, oh, you just merged with that place. That's what happened.
Right.
I don't know if there's any comments, but it was, I think as someone aspiring to be a recovering merger, I don't know if I can say I'm, it was also like a very meaningful experience. And I think that is like a thing that can be still a little confusing around the don't merge, because it did really heighten my experience of being there. I don't know what it would have been like if I hadn't been doing that, but it did certainly leave an indelible, imprint on what it was like to be in Frida Kahlo's home. Yeah. So anyway, just putting it out there for whatever that's.
Yeah. So places like that they have their own really strong energetic field that still has the imprints and the signatures of whoever was there previously. And then when we walk into that, we can merge with that. And I'm not saying that all merging is a bad thing, Tanya. What I'm saying is that understand that we merge and know how to clear it.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't want to walk around feeling that energy in your life for 6 months afterwards, right?
Right.
Yeah.
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 But okay. But like nothing like objectively terrible about having that experience for a very discrete amount of time and then
No, no.
done. Okay, thanks. That's sort of helpful to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, doesn't it happen every time you go to a music performance, right? The music moves you or can move you so deeply. You know, those are forms of merges. It's not that merging is a bad thing. It's just understanding that it happens and what to do about it if and when it happens.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Rivers.
So then if merging with the EMF is not, it sounds like it's not the most benefit. Is there other anatomy that we merge or sense with that without merging our EMF fields, other ways to perceive?
Yes. And that is a very big question.
Yeah.
So the thing is we're getting information all the time from people, places, things, and we receive it through different parts of our energy structure in different ways. So for example, there's one of the systems in our field that's called the template, which is the energetic extension of our physical nervous system. And it's like a web of little fibers. And it's different than the fibers that you're talking about, Norma. It's a different system. But what happens is we receive information through something called the template echo, which is, you know how you walk into a room and you just sort of get a sense of the vibe that's going on either in the room or with a person in the room. That's information that's coming in through your template, your nervous system. And so the more you know about your own internal landscape, the easier it is to determine that, oh, that's not mine. That's something that's coming to me from my client. So sometimes like I'll be starting a session with someone and all of a sudden it's like I can't stop coughing. And I wasn't feeling like that before the session started. And so I know it's something that may be going on with their throat chakra, for example. So I will check that. So so that's a way that we get information. There's also so one of the other classes that I want to offer is on identifying and understanding and nourishing your intuitive gifts. So one thing that can happen is some people they can just touch a person and they get a whole download of what's going on with that person. And that's really helpful for people that work at the somatic level. There's also people that are clairvoyant, that see things. There's clairaudience, there's clairsentience. There's a lot of different intuitive gifts that we have. And if we're aware of them and understand that that's how we receive information, that can be really useful. Like how many of you get information in your dreams? Yeah. Yeah. So that's a gift to get. I mean, and I don't always remember my dreams, but sometimes I'll wake up in the morning. If I'm going to be having a session with somebody, I'll wake up having just had a dream about them. And I know, oh, that's something that I need to know for what's going to happen today. So there's lots and lots of ways that we get that information. And that's a part that goes hand in hand with the hypersensitivity and the hypervulnerability that I was talking about a little while ago. It's like, how do we understand what our superpowers are and how do we make the most of them? Because I think that kind of awareness and knowledge and understanding is really powerful. It's when we're not aware of them that we can just get hammered by that information coming in. So, and it goes hand in hand with understanding your own internal landscape enough so that okay, wait, that's my tummy that's upset. No, that's your tummy, that kind of thing. Just to understand that. Does that answer that for you?
Yes. in that I used my psychic ability in my practice
Mhm,
and also to survive my childhood,
mhm.
I think. So I always called myself a wilder. I didn't study it. I just knew how to do it. But after studying just this one class with Desda, I am the perfect example of everything not to do. I did everything the wrong way,
Mhm.
which is why I'm in the, I have Parkinson's and blah, 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 which is why my nervous system is shot,
Mhm.
but getting better.
Yeah,
But definitely it nearly destroyed me. It,
yeah,
it nearly did.
yeah.
So that's why I'm curious how to use the right way and yeah, so I have to become more self-aware of how it is that I know things.
Well,
You know,
yes, exactly. And something that you just said is spot on, that a lot of us developed a lot of our gifts as survival mechanisms when we were little because of traumatic experiences that we had. And so it's interesting to understand and work with the trauma in a way that you can get the gifts from it, but not still be so at the effect of this. And Jane is a specialist in that. She's a trauma therapist. She's brilliant, really brilliant. Jennifer.
And what do we do if we can't determine the source of, if I don't know that it's you or Rich or someone else? Like I can just feel something and like, I don't think this is mine, or I'm
Right.
not sure it's mine. How do I find that out?
Right, right. Well, there's a couple of things. One is you can call me or a practitioner who can help you. But the other thing is sometimes it's really helpful to know who it is if it's a person who has merged with you, because then you can make a resolve in yourself. Okay, I'm not going to be porous to that person anymore. If you don't know who it is, ask your higher self, because your higher self probably has a better clue than you might at the level of your ego and your personality. Okay, Jane, thank you so much. Bye. Thanks for joining us. Um, so part of it, Jennifer, is training yourself to recognize and make the distinctions. And it takes time. It just takes time and practice. Time for one more question if anybody has one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna put this recording up on my YouTube channel and I'll send you the link for that. You won't be able to access it without the link. And I also will send you the screenshots that we shared with you. So you'll have that for your information. And then I'm also going to send you an evaluation form because I want to make these classes good. So I appreciate your feedback. Yeah, Carmelinda.
Sorry, I keep jumping back and forth because my computer keeps freezing. I don't know what's going on with it. So now you're on my phone. I'm curious about you mentioned boundaries, and I know I don't want to like take us off into the weeds, but I'm just wondering if you're talking about being able to really hold your core well. Is that the way that you are thinking about this in terms of keeping astrals and other beings from merging?
Well, I think that's a part of it, but not the whole story. So I think it's also being able to hold your edge. And it's not, so there's a couple edges. So one is the one boundary you have is your physical skin. And then the next boundary out is your electromagnetic field. And then there's a boundary out farther that's the edge of your human energy structure. So being able to hold all of those edges. Core is a part of it. It's also what I've called a couple times of structural integrity. I mean, there's a lot of different systems and parts to the anatomy that I think all work together to help us to hold our boundaries. But it's really about, I guess, understanding, knowing, and celebrating your authentic self. And there's a whole lot of pieces to that. Like that's knowing about what your purpose is here in this lifetime, knowing about your gifts that you have, knowing about the things that you might have come into this lifetime to work with. You know, there's a whole lot of different aspects to that. And the core is one of those aspects, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, my dears, we're coming to a close. So I really look forward to your feedback on this. I'm very curious. And in part of the feedback, there's a question about other things that you'd like to learn about. But one of the things I'm getting is that a really good next class might be on astrals and possessions. So maybe we'll schedule that one for next. And I'm thinking of, well, I'll send you out in the email what I'm thinking of the next date to see if that works for you. So I want to thank you all so much for being here for this launch of me doing this. I had a really lovely time preparing for this and being with all of you. And it's just great to be with all of you who I know and who know me, and because that helps us go a little deeper with all of this. So thank you so much. And I want to close our sacred space right now with gratitude and delight. And I wish you all a beautiful rest of the day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much.